Welcome back to another episode of the Enrich Your Journey podcast. I'm really excited that you're here. Thank you for your time. I'm also elated today to have one of my lifelong best friends with me, Fred Williams. I've invited Fred to come in and talk about a topic that obviously is a very important one. Unfortunately, but maybe also fortunately, with the help that's out there now, it's trending very much so. And so just wanted to take some time today to kind of pick Fred's brain, let him tell his story, and kind of tell us what he's been working on. So before I start, I do want to talk about Fred's accolades. He does have a Master of Arts. He has his NCC, National Certified Counselor. Fred is also a PLPC, Provisional Licensed Professional Counselor. And importantly, he's also the owner and founder of Mental Alchemy Counseling. So, Fred, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Pat.
How did I do? Did I miss anything?
You did great.
Good.
Well, it's a Master of Clinical Mental Health.
Oh, thank you. Master of Arts.
Yeah.
But, okay, that's good. We'll go back and...
You're forgiven.
So, first of all, I just want to share our story. I did the math today, and we became friends. Well, we met each other, became pretty fast friends.
I agree.
In 1998, which is 25 years.
Man.
I don't even feel like we're old enough to be friends for 25 years.
Sounds like something my dad would say.
That's pretty wild.
It's definitely something Mick would say.
25 years. So we met freshman year in high school, stayed really good friends, went to different colleges, but we were close enough that we still got to see each other on a pretty regular situation. And then post-college, we also were roommates for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. As we were
Maybe longer.
As we were entering the real world, trying to figure out what we wanted to do with ourselves. So we've had a lot of fun, no doubt about it. But I've just always valued our friendship and respect you a lot. And I'm really happy about what you're doing now with helping other people. So talk to me more about your journey, right? It's Enrich Your Journey. Obviously you're a successful business owner. You're having a hell of a track record. You're seeing a lot of people very quickly. Every time I talk to you, I mean, even getting this booked, I think all last week you were seeing patients. So you're having a really fast, quick success track record helping people. But tell me, how did you get to where you are now? How did you become a therapist? Why did you want to become a therapist?
It wasn't necessarily like I always wanted to do. Like, I remember you knew what you wanted to do from a young age and you went after and got it. I really struggled with like just a path or a purpose. And I went into sales, and when, for me, the pressure got too much for me, I didn't handle it well. Just having to hit deadlines and just stay on top of your game, stay on top of clients, prospecting new clients. I didn't handle it well, and I turned to alcohol. And it got me just anxiety attacks, me wanting to do something different, but I didn't know what to do. But I also grew up as an athlete, and just where I just felt like it wasn't okay to quit and do something different. Just, those masculine traits that a lot of us have, like not wanting to ask for help and holding all that stuff in. It was just killing me. It was awful. It wasn't good for me at all. And I went and saw a therapist one day, and it was a horrible experience. It wasn't good at all. Like it wasn't a good fit. The therapist that I had, we just didn't have a lot in common. I didn't trust her very much, and so I didn't really open up to her. I'm not blaming her. My point about that is when you're looking for a therapist, just make sure it's a fit, that you feel comfortable talking to the person. And so I thought this was all BS. Went back to just struggling, and one day my primary care physician, Dr. Summers, was like, "Hey man, you really need to talk to somebody. I want you to call this guy. I think it'll work for you." And he had me call this guy named Ed Flynn. And within 5 minutes, he had my trust. It was like the rapport was just built, and I told him everything, and it felt so good just getting everything off my chest. And he knew that my problems weren't going to go away until I made a lot of lifestyle changes. And one of those lifestyle changes was I needed to find a new career, a new purpose, something that was for me that I really wanted to do. And he would every now and then like throw something out there, and I was like, "Nah, that's not it." He was like, "Oh, you can do this." And then one day he was like, "You can do what I do." And it was just like I just knew. And I mean, it was within a couple months. I was looking into grad schools and was enrolled in Webster and started working on my master's.
Wow. That's a great story. So talk to me about that for a minute, because that's interesting, because it's similar to our business, right? We're in the wealth management business where you have to connect with the person you're talking to, right? So your first experience, you knew right away, probably not a great fit. The second experience sounds like it was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody is coming to you, how do you know that you potentially are a good fit for them? Like, what is it that, they need, or is it more where you're just going to stick to your process, and if it's good for them, then you move forward with them?
Just much like you said, that's what you guys do. Like that's my background as well. It's not from a financial aspect, but it's sales. So that rapport building, I have a good idea on the phone if this is something I can do, or if I'm gonna be able to build rapport with this person. And really, I just kind of assume it. You know what I mean? I just assume that we have that rapport, and people usually open up to me pretty fast.
Yep. Well, you're a likable guy, and I can tell. Again, I mentioned earlier that your business has already been very successful in a pretty quick time. You've been open for how long now?
Just over a year.
Just over a year.
Started with zero.
It's awesome.
Zero clients.
How many patients now?
I see like 12 a week.
12 a week. It's awesome. Well, I mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast that, part of the reason for connecting with Fred and wanting to have him come in and talk about this is that, unfortunately, it's a trend. It's trending upwards in terms of those that need help. But also people are opening up. If you kind of spin that a little bit in a fortunate way, there's a lot more resources out there now, right? There's a lot more people. People are getting, from what I read, more comfortable bringing this up and seeking help. I actually looked at some stats that I want to read, and I'm sure you probably know most, if not all of these, that are pretty astounding. So 1 in 5, these are all according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 6 U.S. youth age 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14.
Wow.
14. And 75% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 24. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14. 20% of all U.S. vets experienced a mental illness in 2020. That was 4 million U.S. vets. This one is astounding to me. The average delay between onset of mental illness symptoms and treatment is 11 years.
Yeah.
11 years.
That sounds about right.
So somebody is living more than a decade, potentially knowing, but also maybe not, that they have mental illness issue.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the circumstances may be, maybe it's, they don't have great access to the care they need. Maybe they don't want to admit they have a problem. Maybe they don't even know where to turn.
Yeah.
They're waiting on average 11 years. That is just like mind-boggling to me.
I probably should have saw someone in college, and I didn't see someone till like 34 years old.
But you probably didn't know, right?
I had no idea.
Really think
no idea.
Didn't really think about it.
You could have told me to go see someone, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
That's not real.
Right. And now it's being introduced at a younger age, mainly, hopefully because of a lot of these stats that we're seeing, where unfortunately it's affecting our youth. A couple more here, Fred. People with depression have a 40% higher risk of developing cardiovascular and metabolic diseases than the general population. People with serious mental illness are nearly twice as likely to develop these conditions. And, as I was reading these on these websites, again, this one's National Alliance on Mental Illness, they continue to go on and on and on. There's about 2 pages of stats, the impact to families, communities. Obviously, a lot of it was written around COVID. We're stuck inside for 2 years plus. Obviously, the impact of the criminal justice system, rural America. People living in a rural area have to travel at least 2 times as far on average for treatment. So, it's no wonder that mental health searches on Google reached an all-time high in 2021. And, but again, there's hope. Further research going through this, according to the American Psychiatric Association, 75% of people who enter psychotherapy show some benefit. Psychotherapy has been shown to improve emotional and psychological well-being and is linked with positive changes in the brain and the body. That's psychotherapy. So What is psychotherapy? What is a psychotherapist?
Well, what I like to do is make the unconscious conscious. Like, you can sit here and tell me everything that's going on in your life, but I'm going to hear some things that you are just too close to pick up on. It's hard for me to necessarily put that into words, but maybe you're telling me about all these people in your life, and I'm like, well, it doesn't sound like they're respecting you very much. Like, maybe you've gotten into a habit of just allowing people to walk all over and you're not setting boundaries. And you start doing that and taking some action steps, whatever it may be, the change starts with you. And if I can just illuminate that and bring some self-awareness to it, then it's on you to just go out there and make some changes and take some action in your life.
Makes a lot of sense. So your practice, you're seeing, what type of clients and how often. If I'm watching this right now and I think, maybe I need to speak with somebody, what type of person or what are they potentially going through, and what are their options? What do you suggest they do?
I like working with men and teenage boys on a variety of different issues. So obviously there's anxiety and depression, but life transitions and existential crisis, or just burnout. Like, I still think this is the career I want to do, but I need to make some changes, and I don't feel comfortable talking to the EAP person or going to my sales manager or someone about this, or putting this on my wife or my best friend. I want somebody that's impartial that I can talk to as I'm beginning to make these lifestyle changes in my life right now.
Yeah. I've read a lot about self-regulation. What is that? What's your favorite way to conduct that?
So self-regulation is, to put it simply, is regulating yourself. The pressure's on, we're getting anxious, or we're always preparing for a war or a battle that doesn't come, whether you're gearing up to go on a sales call or whatever that may be. But do you know how to relax yourself? Can you take 5 to 10 minutes to just chill out your central nervous system? And my absolute favorite way to do that is meditation. I sit still for 20 minutes twice a day, and I just focus on a mantra. Like, when I was in my most stressful position, I would get to work early, and this guy would be there, and he'd be sitting in his office, just headphones in, just chilled out. And I was like, hey man, I gotta ask, what are you doing?
What are you listening to?
You look weird. Is that Tupac? What is that? And he'd be like, no, it's Headspace. It helps me to calm and stay focused, and like, I get this energy about me that I can go have this clarity and just take on my day. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just kind of ignored it for a while, and then before I knew it, I'd be in my car listening to Headspace, not driving, it was like just finding a space to chill out, or be in the middle of an airport, listen to Headspace. And then after a while, I stepped it up to float pods, which is like laying still in salt water where your body floats and it tricks your mind into thinking your body's not there.
Yeah.
And then I took a class over in Brentwood at the Transcendental Meditation Center, and that's the way I've been doing it for the last 3 to 4 years.
That's awesome. I can attest to that, because in the last probably 18 months or so, I would say, it was like COVID lingering a little bit still. When Fred and I had talked, just on the random days that maybe I had a super crazy day, really stressful or whatever, his very first question to me was, what? Do you remember?
I don't.
Have you meditated?
Have you meditated
today? And I'm like, what? No, I don't even know what to do. So I think that's super, super powerful for this episode. If you're watching this right now and, you want to talk about, how to potentially enrich where you are, your journey right now. If you're feeling anxious, anxiety, potentially depressed, just overwhelmed, what he just said is super, super important. If you just take we're only talking
starting 5-10 minutes.
5-10 minutes of your day. Think about that. You could wake up 10 minutes earlier and just clear your mind. Maybe it's your favorite song. Maybe it's sitting in a quiet area.
Yeah, the apps walk you through it. Just listen to what the instructor has to say. Find a nice quiet spot and just listen. Do what they say. They'll walk you through it. And then over time, that builds up, that stillness, it stays with you the more and more you do it. So when you're in a high stress or high pressure situation, you've got that stillness, that baseline to remember to call upon, instead of just urgency, rush, trauma, anxiety. Like when you're there, you're able to remember the calmness and stillness that you give your mind and your nervous system 5 to 10 minutes a day. Just start small.
So what are some of so you've been telling people to meditate for at least 2 years now. Yeah. What's some of the feedback that you've gotten from people that have implemented that in their daily lives and the benefit it's made them?
That they can breathe themselves right out of a panic attack. That's by far the biggest one. And when people tell me that, I'm like,
It's working.
yeah, like, tell me more about that.
Wow. I would imagine there's a laundry list more, right? Just maybe a more subtle,
Blood pressure.
consistent day. Blood pressure comes down. I already talked about cardiovascular risks. Maybe you have a better day.
Better
right?
day.
I mean, we're talking 5 or 10 minutes. So it's definitely something that I've implemented. Because of Fred telling me to do it. The
ideas and hunches coming to you that you know to just act on.
Yeah.
It's like that knowing where if you're freaking out, it's tough to know what to do in the moment. But if you're all excited and you calm yourself down, it's like, oh, I know what to do now. It's just a matter of calming that mind down.
Is there a specific time of the day? You're saying start of the day. I mean, you're at a lunch hour. You go sit in your car and meditate for 10 minutes?
I usually do it when I get to the office and when I'm about to leave. But remember, this is your game. This is your life. This is your story. You make your own rules. So if you can't get it in to start the day and it's sometime in the middle of that, or if it's at lunch, you can't get to it, it's however you want to do it. You make it work for you.
When a patient or a client sees a psychotherapist or therapy in general, are you creating a game plan? Like in that scenario, they're walking through and saying, hey, I can't do it in the morning. I got kids or I'm late riser, whatever. Are you kind of helping them design their day or their week to help them get better or better themselves?
Yeah. So a lot of times people will sit down right in front of me and they're like, tell me what to do. And like, no, that's not me. It's more of, well, when can you do it? What do you want to do? What habits did you used to have when you felt like you were at your best? Oh, you used to run. Why'd you stop? So life got in the way. Well, you have a calendar? Yeah, I use my calendar for everything. Well, do you schedule things for yourself like running, meditating, those things that you need to keep yourself going, to sharpen you? You're the iron. If you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to be out there and be your best?
Right.
You're the product.
So then how is that person holding themselves accountable? Is that the schedule where you're continuing to see them and you're asking them, hey, did you get back on running? Mm-hmm. Because we talked about it and you agreed that's really good for your mental health. Obviously the physical attributes of that are healthy. Is that where they're coming back to you because they need an outside voice to hold them accountable?
Yeah, I like to think of it as I'm asking open-ended questions to get you go from stuck to taking action.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like I can tell you to do something over and over again, but if I could bring it up out of you and I ask you a certain question and you're like, oh, I should do this. That's way more powerful than me saying it. It's helping you to illuminate it from within.
Yep. Well, that's great. What do you still have left to do? What are your goals with the company or the number of patients, or what's the bigger picture here? Right? We're not quite yet 40, so we got a long career left, right?
Yeah, I'd like
close,
to see
but
20 to 25 clients a week, and that keeps me fresh to where I'm energetic and not stressed out and able to see my clients, but also meditating twice a day, able to go to the gym 3 to 4 days a week. And I don't know, maybe it's expanding, hiring more therapists.
Yep.
We'll see. Right now I'm focused on building it individually. I have my goals. I'll hit those and then I'll adjust and create some more.
Well, again, I know I've repeated this, but unfortunately the numbers are there, but fortunately the help is growing. So it seems like, you kind of have, sky's the limit to continue to grow and help people. And I'm sure, it's got to be very, a sense of gratitude when you have a success story of somebody says, Fred, I'm great. I'm going to move on. I'll stay in touch with you, but everything I'm good. I would imagine getting to a certain goal of those number of patients or clients while backfilling those that still may want to reach out and talk to you, is probably a continued goal of yours as well.
We call it the counselor's high, that feeling you get when someone comes to you in one mental state and by the end of the session, they're in a completely different mental state. There's no greater feeling.
I would imagine
it's amazing and it's real. It's a legitimate high. It's a great feeling. It's up there with scoring a touchdown.
It's awesome. Which you scored a few of those in your past. So we've talked about, if you're watching this, things to potentially help yourself. Obviously, do your research. Obviously, implement meditation. My next question, though, if you're watching this and maybe you yourself want to become a therapist, or you've always been really interested in helping other people, what advice do you have for those that are watching today, Fred, that may want to become a therapist themselves?
Well, I would say, first of all, you can reach out to me and ask some questions, and I will give it to you as is. Good, bad, the ugly. If you don't want to reach out to me, find a mentor, someone that you may know, and talk to, because it's an interesting industry. So depending on what you want to do and how you want to do it, I would just suggest finding someone that's doing it that way and talk to them about it. There was a lot I didn't know going into it, but my mind was just set. It was like, this is what I'm doing.
You knew.
And I just went for it.
Yep.
One of the surprises that people get surprised by is the 1.5 year long free internship you have to do. So that really kind of throws your life off, and you have to adjust on the fly to take care of that. So, I mean, I would say that was by far the biggest surprise. I didn't realize, like, I'm already 2 semesters in, and I'm like, oh, this is free internship.
Where's my paycheck?
People are still doing that.
So so that's really good to know. So you have to go into it knowing, obviously it's not about the money, but you still got, you got bills, right? So you got to have a side hustle. You got to have some source of income while you're going through school. And you did some night school too, right? So you can work it around, a daytime job if you really want to do it. But as you know, you and I talked in the past, if you have the passion to do something, which I knew you did as soon as the first time you and I talked about you getting into this, you'll figure all that out.
You figure it out.
Right?
Absolutely.
You'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
Love it. Well, this has been amazing, really good information. I hope you all found it really beneficial. I will put all Fred's contact information in the video. So as he said, feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions about, ways to enrich your own journey currently right now, and or if you're interested in potentially becoming a therapist. But man, just really excited to have you on today. Really appreciate your time, and hope you all have found it beneficial. So we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much.
See you guys. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.